always used the grid. It started as that ability to pull the work into a small area. It's a bit of a man's thing to use the grid. You know, the American post-World War II artists were very, very into the grid and repetition and all this kind of stuff. But I think they skipped the poetry, and I think there's a lot of softness and strength rather than boldness and strength in a grid. So that's what I try to pull out, and that's why some of those works are really formula, squared, repeated, and then they loosen off and they break up and they've got interruptions, because that just is what happens in your life, isn't it? It's never contained and worked out. So that's where a bit of that comes from. Called FORAGE because I was trying to explain to someone what I had been doing in the residency that I had in Hill End, and they actually said, so you spent most of your time foraging, and it dawned on me that's exactly what I was doing. And when I first got there I was a little bit lost. I really didn't know what I was doing until I started looking at the garden and started seeing all these, the minutiae, the tininess of what's happening in there. And that's when what was I going to do with it? I started drawing it because I always start drawing, but then it just started falling into my hands. And that's why it's FORAGE, because then I started looking for it. And every plant goes through this magnificent process of reseeding, I guess. Reseeding? That's not the right word, but having seeds. Everything is incredibly fecund. It just reproduces itself all the time. It is just source material. Other people use paint and brush. What I'm doing is using this as it already is a piece of paint. And I guess that's what the grid allows me to do too. It allows me to show that in a visual sense, the infinite, continuous nature of it. One of the artists who has influenced my way of looking at the world and my composition, I think, the reduction of things, is Agnes Martin. Just beautiful, beautiful American painter who used the grid and also used materials that were soft, female, I guess, if you want to put a gender thing in. And I think there's a lot in my work that is about a process of making that could easily be domestic, cutting, pattern making, stitching. But these skills are as viable, as valuable and as strong as those grandiose forms. I think this is really part of what all art is about, whether it's female or male, but it's about inclusiveness. No longer is there a grand statement, the great Pablo Picasso, the great whatever. It is about being inclusive in the world, global and local. And this is very local. My garden is my art store. I just like the surface of paper. It just has a particular quality to it, and it's tough. It can be cut, it can be folded, it can have things stuck on it, but the essence of the paper comes through on everything, and it too has a softness that works particularly well with making these kind of little quiet pieces of artwork. And that, I think, is another thing about the Australian landscape. It is soft, it is subtle, it looks grey, but when you look into it, it's a myriad of tonal variety. So you've got this myriad of colour and this myriad of action, and it's sort of like one tiny small thing starts all that. And it's nature gone Baroque. It's everywhere.